Let's jump right back into that conversation with former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, at our Hill Nation Summit.
Do you ever think a Kennedy would be in a Republican administration? The answer is probably no, but he would join a Trump administration. I mean, Trump has put a coalition together that's rather unique. And anybody else that thinks about doing some other party, I think that would only help the Democrats win an election. We watched what transpired that before.
And so I'm curious also what your relationship with President Trump is like now. I mean, he was, expressing some frustrations earlier this year about your debt limit deal with President Biden. Of course, now in
the one
Big
that cut
Beautiful Bill.
$2.2 trillion?
Yes, but he didn't like that the debt ceiling would end during his presidency. Of course, that problem is now solved after they raised the debt ceiling in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Look, I would tell, and I talked to him right after it too, this is where the staff gives him misinformation, because he would talk about September. See, September 30th is the funding for government. A debt ceiling is just when the debt ceiling comes up, how much you spend. It doesn't matter, it's going to come when it comes. But when I look at what we achieved there, and remember, we only had the House and 5-seat majority. Democrats controlled the Senate, and Democrats controlled the White House. And they thought we would just fold. We cut $2.2 trillion. The Big Beautiful Bill cuts $1.6. That's mandatory, we're discretionary. It brought you work requirements for welfare. It had NEPA reform, which hadn't been reformed in more than 40 years. Remember all those IRS agents? Okay, that was already in law. We rescinded that. You see, on the Hill, they're fighting to get rescissions for $9 billion, and they have up to Friday to do it. You know how big the biggest rescission package ever was in that debt ceiling? More than $20 billion. And you know what? I got Democrats to vote for it too. They had to.
Also, there was another big historic moment a couple weeks ago when Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries broke your record for longest floor speech. Are you disappointed to no longer be the record holder?
No,
okay.
But the one thing I would say is he spoke and that bill became law. So he didn't accomplish something. When I spoke, afterward the bill died. It had to be resurrected by Manchin and a different thing. So.
And I do want to ask you a bit about your post-congressional work. One of the things you've started is Alpha.
Well, first of all, I didn't set out to break the record. Just on a
You didn't?
No. When we went down, staff said you can do it. But Pelosi had the record for like 8 hours. If you know anything about me, I drink a lot of water, and I'm good for about an hour before I have to go to the bathroom, okay? So I went down there. I said, I'll go for an hour or so, right? And I start to talk, and we're going at it, and Pelosi's getting mad at me. They don't expect it. And then AOC is yelling at me from back of the room. And Ryan said, so it just fires me up, right? So I just keep going and going. And then Pelosi gets all upset, and she goes to all the Dems, tells them to leave the floor, but only 1 or 2. Now we're into like midnight or something, and my staff writes a little note, hey, the Dems all left, you can quit. I said, no, I'm going for it now. I had no idea I had to do 6 more hours when I said that. So.
One of your post-congressional initiatives is the Alpha Institute, focused on the technology race, essentially. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the Alpha Institute is to continue to work on policies of what we fostered, okay? So I created if you watch the Select Committee on China in there, and the AI
Coming up
committee.
on News Nation Now, we're continuing to bring you the first ever Hill Nation Summit. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan up next. We'll bring you his sit down live.